Hello everyone, and in the round 9, the penultimate round of Norway Chess 2025, this happened. It was the board number 1, the leader Magnus Carlsen versus the runner-up Fabiano Caruana. Magnus was playing with the white pieces, Fabiano with the black pieces, and on the move number 24, the first imbalance of the position took place. While Fabiano Caruana bought his rook to the open file, Magnus bought his knight to b4, trying to attack the bishop as well as trying to control some of the important squares in the position. After that, he plays knight to e5, trying to get an outpost for his knight, and the knight was looking quite good here. After this, Magnus Carlsen simply kicked the knight back, but rather than taking the knight back, he brought it to c4, and here is when the exchange came. Magnus Carlsen simply grabbed an extra pawn, and Fabiano Caruana was thinking that he can simply take back the pawn on c5 through his knight and his bishop. Since Magnus Carlsen's bishop is light squared and the pawn is on the dark square, he will not be able to defend that. Let's see what happened. Magnus Carlsen first played the move e5. He bought his rook to the counter attack, and Magnus Carlsen played e5. This was a double attack on the knight as well as the queen. So the only move here was playing knight to d5. So he first of all played f6, attacking the defender of this pawn. He cannot take this, otherwise Magnus Carlsen will simply exploit this pin and win a knight. So he first tried to escape the pin as well as attack Magnus Carlsen's rook. Carlsen bought the rook back, trying to maintain the pressure on both of these pieces. After that, he tried to counter attack this pawn, and Magnus Carlsen simply captured the pawn. Now you cannot simply capture here with the rook, otherwise it will be a check and Magnus Carlsen will be up 2 pawns. So he first captured this pawn. Magnus Carlsen takes the knight and simply brought his queen to the center. Now here is an isolated pawn, and Magnus Carlsen has doubled passers along with his rook on the same file, while both of the kings are at the same position, and you will see how Magnus Carlsen is so superior with just simply an extra pawn. Let's see what happened later in the game. Even after having an extra pawn, Magnus Carlsen was not able to proceed, since the queen was sitting on this file and controlling both of these squares, and while Magnus Carlsen had to stop this pawn and his queen was stuck there. Let's see what happened. There was a maneuver of the queen and the rook, while on move number 47, Fabiano Caruana fall for this free pawn and captured on h5, and this was game over for him, as now the pawns were starting to proceed forward and there was no defense for him. He cannot simply control 2 of these pawns with just a single rook, as both of them will be queening easily, and there was no defense for him. And on move number 52, he had to resign, and Magnus Carlsen is now the sole leader, and there is a close second, Gukesh with 14.5. Moving on to the final round.